So if you work 40 hours a week, and let's just say you make $10 an hour. And so the first hour that you go to work, the first hour of each day you go to work, you pay yourself that. So if you make $10 an hour, you're working 40 hours a week, 5 days, your 5 8-hour shifts. Day one, that first hour is your money. So that's your $10 for Monday, your $10 for Tuesday, and so on. And that's money that you pay yourself. There is no way you should be going to work to pay other people.
Wow.
So why are you going to work to make money, to pay rent, to pay your cell phone bill, to pay car note? But what about you? You're the one doing all the work. What are you going to get out of it?
Yeah. Welcome, beautiful people. Shy-Bivia here, aka Shanice Bryant, and welcome to another episode of the Legally Clueless Entrepreneurs Podcast, where we share a lifestyle, side hustle, and business gems while highlighting other entrepreneurs who have begun their journey in turning their passion projects into profits and building wealth. I am super excited, you guys, to have this lady in the studio with me today. She is a powerhouse and has such an amazing success story. And I'm just super eager for her to share her life journey with us today, her wins, her successes, and all of that, okay? So without any further ado, today I have with me Tauqilla Manning, who is the CEO and founder of Black Nurses Week, and who also is a travel nurse. So welcome to the podcast episode, Tauqilla. And by the way, I know a lot of you guys are probably wondering, okay, who exactly is Tauqilla? I'll give you guys a rundown of who she is. Tauqilla is a renowned nursing leader who possesses both the passion and fundamental skills necessary to support patients on achieving advanced clinical outcomes. She features an extensive 17+ year nursing background with the last 10 years involving travel assignments and enjoys every moment of delivering top quality patient support, team unification, and nurse diversity awareness that help accentuate the entire healthcare industry experience. So Tauqilla, I know I gave a brief rundown of who you are, but I just want you to share with the audience who Tauqilla is and what do you do?
So my name is Tauqilla Manning. Tauqilla is an aunt. I'm an aunt of 3 nieces. Tauqilla is a sister. Tauqilla is a daughter. Tauqilla is a friend. Obviously, I'm a nurse. I don't always mention that I'm a nurse first because nursing is not everything that defines who I am. I've been a nurse for 17 years though. Tauqilla is, or tried to be, an inspiration to other people, other women who look like me or little girls who look like me. Just, give the world some hope because, it's difficult. It can be difficult, being a woman of color. Being a woman of color in leadership, being a woman of color in the nursing field. People look at us as nurses and like, oh, they save lives. But a lot of people don't know what it's like to be a Black woman in leadership. So it's way more than saving lives. So I'm pretty sure we'll get into that, but that's pretty much who I am. I don't like talking about myself that much. So, that's me. That's who I am.
I love it. Thanks for sharing that. I didn't know how that can be too, because sometimes I can be like that, like, I don't want to, talk about myself, but thanks for sharing. And I'm happy that you mentioned that in regards to, being a woman of color. And that's why I have you on the show today, because I know that you have a lot to share and tons of inspiration. So firstly, I just want to get into, you talked about being a nurse for 17+ years.
Yes.
I want to know, firstly, what made you decide to get into that career? Because obviously there are so many other career paths out there, right? I mean, nursing is a great, lucrative career path. At one point in high school, I thought I was going to become a nurse, right? So share with us a little bit, why did you decide to become a nurse?
Sure. And before I get into that, if I may, a lot of people mention how nursing is so lucrative, but I don't think a lot of people know actually how much nurses make, because there's, you can go work at Target and probably make more than some nurses. So it's not as lucrative as people may think that are not in the nursing field. So there's a lot of caveats to that.
Okay.
It can be lucrative.
Because I was when I say lucrative, because I have friends now who are like travel nurses, and they tell me how much they're making. We can probably get into that. Not exactly what they're making. That's fine if you don't want to get into that. But when she told me how much she's making, and my other travel nurse friends, I'm like, how?
Yep.
So, which we'll get into that a little bit. But
so, how I got into nursing, thank you for asking me that, because I get that often and I like telling others, my story. So, I'm from East Texas, which I say is the country, dirt roads and pine trees. And in my family, we do not put our elders in the nursing homes. Growing up, my mom and my aunts took care of the great grandparents and things of that nature. So it kind of started when I was younger. When my great grandmother was sick, there was no putting her in the nursing home. They ordered the hospital beds, all the supplies needed, special formula, care products, all that stuff was ordered so they can take care of her at home. Wow. And so it was like shift work. And so, of course, with me being there, I'm like, I want to help. I want to help take care of Granny, too. I want to help clean Granny up, too. It's everything. Feeding her, bathing her, getting her up in the chair, all that type of stuff. So that started when I was really young. And so growing up, I was like, oh, I want to do that. And so I went to school to be a certified nursing assistant, or what is known as a CNA. So I went to school to do that and start working in nursing facilities and taking care of, the elderly people, or, like the ones who had mental health problems. So it was very eye-opening, because I go from taking care of or helping take care of my great-grandma to now taking care of other people's, grandma or mom or whatever. So it started with that. And then I went back to school to be a medication aide. And so those are the ones in the nursing facilities that pass out the medication to the elderly population. And so as I'm in the nursing home and seeing all these roles, then I started seeing the nurses and what they do. And I'm like, but wait a minute, I can do that too. Like, they can pay more than I am. I can do that. Yeah. So I was like, I'm going to go back to school and I'm going to become a nurse. And so I went back and did the 1-year program to become a licensed vocational nurse. And you get a certificate of completion. So I did that. That was a 1-year program. And when I was working still in the long-term care facilities, the elderly population, then I seen the RNs, the registered nurses. I was like, wait a minute. We kind of doing the same thing here, but they're getting paid more than I am. Oh, I'm going to go back to school and do that too. And so I went back and I got my RN. And then that's when I ventured off into the hospital, where you can, see things differently than, what I seen every day in the long-term care facility. And then at that particular hospital, they were really pushing for nurses to get their bachelor's degree. And so I went back and got my bachelor's degree. And so it was just working and seeing others doing this. And I'm like, I can do that. I can do that. If they can do it, I can do it too. And going back. And then I've got accepted into grad school twice, and I've dropped out twice. So I don't have my master's degree. Yeah. But I mean, in my 17 years of experience, I still got to do what I wanted to do without my master's degree.
And what was your reasoning for dropping out?
Well, the first reason that I withdrew was kind of what led up to Black Nurses Week. I actually had got accepted. I started my first class, and then I had this race-based traumatic experience on one of my travel assignments, and it was all just too much. My goal was to be a chief nursing officer, which is the head of nursing. Mm-hmm. And I was on that track. I was getting all the experience. I was getting all the education. But when I had that experience, I was like, I don't want to do it. So I withdrew from school.
Oh, wow.
Yep, I withdrew.
Yeah.
And so I was like, but I'm still getting, I haven't had that title yet, quote unquote, yet. But I still got to do all the things I wanted to up to that point with a bachelor's degree. I just thought if I had my master's degree, it would open more doors. But I guess at that point, God said it's not time for that.
And there's nothing wrong with withdrawing, from school or from a career field, if you don't feel like it is for you. A lot of times people think that if you quit school or if you quit this so-called amazing career, then you're a failure. But it's actually the opposite, because you have to follow what you truly believe. You can't do what everybody around you expects for you to do.
Exactly.
You have to do what you are meant to do and called to do in that season. Yep. So I'm happy that you shared that. And that's interesting, because usually I'll ask people, what was life before, what you're doing now? But it sounds like you have been doing this kind of like, you've been in the nursing field since, from...
Well, but in the very, very beginning when I went to college, I definitely wanted to go to college. Because my parents didn't go to college. Maybe half my family didn't even go to college. I was like, I'm going to college. So when I originally went to college, my major was computer science.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But at some point, doing all this computer stuff and all these, I don't know, MS-DOS and all of that, the computer programming classes, I love the web development classes, but when it got to programming, and I was just like, looking at a computer all day, I'm like, where are the people? Like, who am I going to talk to? And so I changed my major.
Okay.
Yep, I changed my major. So, and that was okay. I just thought computer science is kind of what other people wanted me to do. Like one of my cousins who started with me, like, oh, we can be computer programmers and stuff like that, because we thought it was cool. And it's weird, not weird, it's different when you come from a family that don't have college education. So we kind of really out here on our own, like, but we want to go to college, just figure out what it is.
Yeah.
And so we started that first semester together, and I was like, I don't think this is it for me, because I don't have nobody to talk to. So I need my personality is talk.
Yeah.
And talk to people, interact with people.
Yeah.
I'm interacting with whatever these programming codes is. I mean, I didn't even get it right. I've made a bad grade in that class. So I was like, no, I think I better stick with nursing, because I already have my CNA license, my Med-A license. I was like, no, I'm going to do nursing.
Yeah. I remember in high school, I did a little bit of like programming, computer. I barely passed that class. I mean, I got a good grade to pass, enough to pass. But one of the things that I wanted to know as well, travel nursing though. How did you go from becoming just a regular, RN to travel nurse? How was it first introduced to you?
So it was introduced to me. I was a staff nurse working in the float pool at my first hospital job. And when I first started working in the hospital, I was working in the emergency department. And even though I like the adrenaline rush of the emergency department, I started floating to other areas. And when I was working in cardiac ICU, there were two other nurses, two Black nurses. And, once we kind of started learning each other and talking about our experiences and stuff, and when I told them I didn't have kids, and I was like, I don't have kids, I don't have any attachments, and one of them was like, why are you not travel nursing? And I'm like, what's that?
Were they travel nurses at the time then?
They were working per diem, and they would go work strikes. And so a strike is when, a hospital, usually in a state that's unionized, maybe those workers want a certain thing and they go on strike. And so other nurses have to come in and take their place and take care of those patients. So they were doing that. They had the flexibility to do that. And they introduced it to me. And so the next strike that came up, I think it was Massachusetts maybe. And that was like, they're striking in Massachusetts, you need to come. And so I filled out the application and things of that nature. And I, had that experience. And I was like, you need to travel. You need to travel. Go to California. They pay very well over there. And I was like, okay. So I filled out an application with a travel agency. And my first assignment was in Stockton, California. I did not recommend anyone go there, but that's where my first travel assignment was. I loaded up my car with some scrubs, some shoes, and things, just the bare necessities.
Yeah.
And I drove to California. And I did a 13-week contract.
Oh, 13 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Most, well, it's kind of changed now with COVID, but most travel contracts are anywhere from 8 to 13 weeks at a time. And, you go fulfill your assignment. If they need you to extend, you can extend for another 13, 8 weeks, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Or you can end it and go back home or go on vacation or whatever you want to do. So that's how I got into it. It was introduced to me by some coworkers in the ICU.
Oh, that's amazing. So when they sent you to California, they paid you well. Did they also pay for like your housing or you had to pay for your own housing?
So when you're a travel nurse, usually you have to be, I think the standard is 50 miles away from your home residence to be considered quote unquote a travel nurse. And you get stipends, tax-free stipends. So that's what makes travel nursing so lucrative.
Mm-hmm.
When you are doubling your expenses, like at home and somewhere else, then you get the travel-free stipends, and they're dependent upon the location. So, of course, California cost of living is higher, so you probably would get a higher stipend in California versus if, I just, did a travel assignment in Houston or somewhere.
Right.
So, yeah. And when you go, they can either provide the housing for you. So they usually maybe have contracts with hotel chains or places in that area. Or you can take that stipend, the housing stipend, and you can go find your own place to live, and then you can pocket the rest.
Wow.
So that first assignment, I let them find me a place to live. Because Stockton is not known for being the best place. And so,
why do you say that? Because you said that earlier that you don't recommend Stockton. Let's talk about that for a second.
Well, at one point in time, Stockton was known as the I think they were calling it like the murder capital of the U.S.
Is it murder?
Oh.
Okay.
The crime rate is really high there.
I grew up in Jamaica too, so people are probably listening to this like, you don't know about Stockton, girl? No, I don't.
And so
I came here in 2013.
Yeah, so when I went there and being in the emergency room, you could be walking down the hallway and the ambulance bay is like at the end of the hall. Of course, you can see through those clear doors. People would literally come drop off gunshot wound victims, like dump them right there and drive off.
Really?
So it's not safe.
Wow.
And even like the first day on the floor in the ER, people were like, where are you living? Where did they put you? And I would tell them the apartment complex because they put me in a furnished apartment. It was like, oh, okay, that's the safe place. You can stay there.
Wow.
So that's why I was like, I do not recommend people, and this was years ago. I've been traveling for 10 years now, but I still haven't heard good things about it. So,
oh, wow.
So that's why I say I don't recommend, people go there because it does not have a good reputation and the crime rates were so high and, it's just, you don't want to have a bad experience on, your first travel assignment.
Yeah. So I guess you didn't really go out much?
No, ma'am. I went to work. I went home. I found a local gym. Thank goodness it was like half a mile from where I was living. I would go to the gym. I think I went to the mall maybe like twice. And then if I did go anywhere, it was like, because I'm in Stockton in the Bay Area, I went to like San Francisco, which I think it was maybe like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And I went to some of the other touristy areas around the area, but I definitely did not hang out in Stockton. Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So let's get into the nitty gritty of things now.
Okay.
So you entered into the Double Comma Club, right? That was last year, or
yes, that was last year.
That was last year. So I know my listeners are probably trying to figure out. Okay, we know travel nurses make bang, but walk us into how did you enter into 7 figures? Really, was it just from travel nursing? Was it a combination of different side hustles or businesses? Like, walk us into that a little bit.
Okay, it was a combination of multiple things.
Okay.
So I had a plan to enter into the Double Comma Club or become a millionaire by the time I was 50.
Wow.
And I was working on that. Maybe that wasn't my goal in my teenage years, but I started saving money as a teenager. So I always had this mindset of being a millionaire, or wanted to be, because I don't know about anybody else, but I want to be things that I feel like are not obtainable, because I wasn't raised like that. I wasn't raised as a millionaire. So at 16, I read this book called The Automatic Millionaire by David Bach.
I need to write that down.
And in that book, it talks about becoming a millionaire through real estate. Okay. But there's something in that book that stuck with me immediately, and it was how to save money. And you save money by paying yourself. It don't matter if you make $5 an hour, $10 an hour, it doesn't matter. So if you work 40 hours a week, and let's just say you make $10 an hour. And so the first hour that you go to work, the first hour of each day you go to work, you pay yourself that. So if you make $10 an hour, you're working 40 hours a week, 5 days, your 5 8-hour shifts. Day one, that first hour is your money. So that's your $10 for Monday, your $10 for Tuesday, and so on. And that's money that you pay yourself. So in the book, he emphasizes how there is no way you should be going to work to pay other people.
Wow.
So why are you going to work to make money, to pay rent, to pay your cell phone bill, to pay car note? But what about you? You're the one doing all the work. What are you going to get out of it?
Yeah.
And so that's what I learned from that book. Because again, I'm being raised by parents who, they're living paycheck to paycheck, making ends meet. So there are things that I had to learn on my own or try to teach myself. So that's how I started saving. But to enter into the Double Comma Club, as I got older, I still did that. And I put it in a bank account that did not have a debit card. I didn't want a debit card because I'm paying myself, I'm saving it. I don't want to have access to that money. Mm-hmm. And what you have left over, if you cannot pay your bills, that means you need to look at your bills. You need to see what you need to get rid of, because that money that you're saving is not to be spent paying somebody else. Mm-hmm. So I did that as I'm growing older.
What age did you start?
I read that book when I was 16.
16.
Mm-hmm. And so I think at 16, what was I making, like $8 an hour? I didn't care how much it was. I was still following that formula.
Yeah.
And as I got older, you read more, you learn more about saving money. Mm-hmm. So entering the Double Comma Club, a majority of that came from working as a travel nurse, living below my means. Mm-hmm. But some of that money that I made, I invested into real estate.
Wow.
So rental properties. I have a real estate investing company. I've done wholesaling where, if you drive.
That's exciting because, sorry to cut you.
No,
I know a lot of my listeners are probably really listening in right now because a lot of my listeners, they're into like real estate, investing, that kind of stuff. And I myself I've tried wholesaling before, but I'd love for you to get into that, just to share a little bit with the audience exactly what wholesaling real estate is, and just a little bit about like your investments, if you don't mind, sharing. How did you get your first property, your first real estate investment property?
So wholesaling is where, or I'll just give you an example. You drive down the road, you see a house, maybe the windows are boarded up, the grass is really high, or it has like an orange or a red tag on the door, which are code violations that the city puts on the door. Well, the house is still standing, so clearly it's not being taken care of. So what I would do is get the address. I would go on to the appraisal district website for that city. I put in the address and I see who owned it. And most of the time, clearly, they're not, that the owner is not to that address of that distressed property, because it doesn't even look livable. And so I would get their address and I would write them a letter, either handwritten, or at some point I got postcards, and I would send it to them and I'd say, we'll buy for cash. And people, it's so funny because friends complain like, I'm so sick of these people sending me stuff in the mail. This is a lot of job. That's not true. They can't pay cash. I said, yes, they can. So I would send my first property. I sent a handwritten letter. I waited 6 weeks. I didn't get a response. I sent the postcard. I didn't get a response. I sent another handwritten letter and I put it like in a hot pink envelope. Because, you're getting all these white envelopes in the mail. Like, oh, what's this pink thing right here? And someone finally called me back.
Wow. So you were driving for dollars, basically.
Yep.
That's the terminology.
Mm-hmm. Yep, driving for dollars.
Wow. Okay.
And so a man called me back. And he was like, oh, I've got something in the mail saying you wanted to buy the property at XYZ. And I was like, yeah, I want to buy that. Or are you trying to sell it? And he was like, yeah. And he goes into this long story about how it used to be his parents' house. They're not taking care of it. They hadn't paid the taxes and all this other type of stuff. And I was like, oh, I'd love to buy it. And so.
Just like that.
Yep.
Wow.
And because if it's sitting there, and you've already told me your pain point. You've already told me that, y'all are not paying the taxes. And then I finally say, who is y'all? Who else is in this? He was like, oh, my sisters and brothers. And I was like, oh, okay. And so he said, how much are you willing to give? I was like, oh, he put it in my hands. I said, oh, I'll give you $1,000 cash. No one thinking that's so low.
That was the number.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
He said, well, it's 5 of us. And I said, oh, it's 5? Okay, well, I'll give you all $1,500 cash. I'll take it off your hands right now. We can close in 10 days. And he said, well, I guess that's better than nothing. I said, yeah, let's do it. Do it.
You are not kidding.
No.
$1,500.
$1,500.
How many bedrooms?
Let me tell you what was so good about this house. This house was, first of all, he actually took me there. We walked through there. It was so disgusting. Wow. It was very disgusting. Holes in the floor. I'm like, you know me, baby, I'm pleasantly plump, so let's not step right there because I don't want to go through the floor on the ground. It was nasty. It looked like it could have been like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, but on top of that, it was on a double lot, meaning that, it could be a duplex or something like that. So he took me and he was like, you still want to buy it? I said, yes, I still want to buy it. He said, really? I said, mm-hmm. And I said, do you have the number for your siblings? Or do you want to talk to them? Because everyone would have to sign off. And he said, I already talked to him. I said, okay. So everybody will get, $300. And he was like, yeah, that's fine. I was like, okay, perfect. And so I got that under contract saying, I would buy it from them for $1,500. And then I posted it on Craigslist for $6,500.
Wow.
And so, people obviously would drive by and look at it and things of that nature. And a lot of people, would say they're interested. People can say they're interested, but who's bringing their money?
Exactly.
So bring me your money and I'll know you're serious. And so there was a family who said, yes, we want it. And he negotiated. And I'm all up for negotiation because I only did about 4 or 5 hours of work, really, looking up, see who owned it, handwriting the letter, mailing it out, things like that. And we negotiated, and I sold it for $4,500. So I made $3,000, and I did 5 hours of work.
What state was this?
Texas.
This was Texas.
This was Texas.
What part of Texas?
Tyler, Texas.
Oh, okay.
Tyler, Texas.
Okay. That's about what? 4?
It's about 2.5. 2.5 hours, 3 hours. Okay. And so the family that approached me about buying it, I got it under contract with them that they would buy for $4,500. And I take both of my contracts because my end buyer is replacing my spot in the original contract.
Right.
I took those contracts to the title company, and I told those people at the title company, call me when my money's ready. I wasn't even there.
Wow.
And so that's how I made my first wholesale deal.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing. You made it sound literally so easy. I'm sure people are listening right now like, oh my gosh, I've been trying to, close my first wholesale deal for the longest. But.
Yeah, and then, some people say, oh, you're not a realtor. You can't do that. Honey,
no, you can.
You better educate yourself. Yes, you can.
Yeah,
you don't have to be a realtor. You're just selling your place in a contract.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that was my first wholesale deal.
That's amazing. And so that was your first. And then walk us into, I don't know how far you want to get into it, how many wholesale deals you've done. So that was how long ago was that?
That was my very first. I think I did that in, was it 2014 maybe? I think maybe 2014.
So how many wholesale deals did you do before you invested into your first real estate property? And did you use the funds from
From the
the
wholesale.
wholesale deals?
Yeah, so
to
that was the
invest in-
original plan, was to do several wholesale deals, take that money
Yeah.
and put it into a buy and hold.
Mhm.
And I didn't really want to flip properties.
Mhm.
And I haven't flipped the property. I wanted to do wholesaling because it was you didn't really have to put that much money into it. It's more time than money. Um, and so I only did a few wholesale deals, but my plan was to take the money from my wholesales and to put the down payment for a buy and hold.
That's smart.
But in the midst of me getting into wholesaling and things of that nature, that's when I started traveling. And I was like, oh no, this money over here is guaranteed money as travel, as a travel nurse.
Mhm.
And so actually my first rental was my permanent home. And because when I started traveling, I'm like, I don't have kids, so I got to go back home. I got to go take care of the house.
Yeah.
I then turned my first permanent home into my first rental property. Because one time I was gone, someone vandalized my house. They tried to break into my house.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, okay, so I need to put some money in my house. And so I let someone start renting it. And then, I moved closer to my family in Marshall, Texas, out of Tyler. And I kept traveling. So I kind of gave up my real estate business so I could travel as a nurse because that was guaranteed money.
Yeah.
That's a mindset thing that I had worked on going throughout the years, like steady running with my real estate and going to guaranteed money.
Yeah.
But when I was travel nursing, I also seen a need for housing for travel nurses.
Mm-hmm.
And so at some point in there is when I started doing Airbnb.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so you do Airbnb too?
So I said, if I'm going to be traveling, and I stayed mostly in California because I loved it there. I loved the weather, the working conditions were better. And so I was like, oh, you can do this. I can do this as part of my real estate investing.
Yeah.
So I started doing Airbnb and housing travel nurses.
That was with your main property, right?
No, this was in California. That's when I started doing rental arbitrage.
Oh, okay. So you were doing arbitrage in Cali.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yep. And so the entire time I was in California, after the first 6 months or a year, because I was in California for like 5 or 6 years travel nursing, I didn't pay any rent.
Wow.
People were like, why are you in California? It's so expensive out there. Expensive for who?
Right.
Yes, I'm a travel nurse, but honey, I'm not trying to go stay in a high rise paying $2,000-$3,000 a month. I explained to the rental company what I wanted to do. I said, I'm a travel nurse. I want to rent this place. It was it had 3 bedrooms. And I said, I'm going to stay in one room and I'm going to rent the other 2 out to travel nurses.
Yeah. And so for those of you who are listening and you're probably trying to figure out, okay, what is rental arbitrage? So like she explained, rental arbitrage is pretty much where you rent a property, whether that's from a landlord or from an apartment complex, and you then turn around with their permission and you then rent it out to other short-term or mid-term renters, right? So Tauqilla, she did it the mid-term rental way in a sense, because you did it with like travel nursing. You can do it on platforms like VRBO, Airbnb, and stuff like that. So that's what rental arbitrage is. So that's really interesting. And another thing that I wanted to bring up was when you did your first wholesale deal, that was in as far as I know, a not so popular part of Texas. Because is Tyler popular?
Compared, I guess it depends on what you're comparing.
Like Dallas and
Tyler is it's not even comparable. It's way smaller than Dallas and Houston.
Okay, so the reason why I wanted to mention that was I just wanted people to have an understanding and know that you don't necessarily have to do it within just a popular
Absolutely.
cities. You can go on the outskirts, just like even with rental arbitrage. A lot of people get stuck up on, oh, they have to do it in like major cities, like if it's not Miami or Orlando or Dallas or Houston, you're not going to get bookings, and that is not true. Okay,
Yeah.
Take it from me from experience. I also do short-term rentals as well, Airbnb, stuff like that. And I tell my students all the time, you can look at the outskirts. People travel for all types of different reasons.
Exactly.
All the time, right? Whether that's just to visit a friend, we usually have people all the time from different parts of the world, right? Wherever, just because they're going to school or they're just helping a friend move.
Yeah.
For you, you're a travel nurse, so guess what? You're going to these random cities sometimes that they're sending you to, and you need somewhere to stay.
Yep.
So you kind of have to, look at it like that as well. So that's good. I'm glad that you brought that up.
Yep. So I started doing rental arbitrage, and it was just for travel nurses. And of course, on Airbnb, you can't just limit it to that. If people request, I would, see why do you want to stay here? You're not a travel nurse. But at some point, I end up housing interns for Google, Yahoo. I even had Pandora employees staying with me because I was in Oakland, California.
Okay.
And so I had all kinds of people. So at some point, it got to the point where I'm getting more inquiries about staying. I don't have any rooms, so I end up being the second Airbnb.
Wow.
And so I've been doing Airbnb for, I think it may be 7 years now. But when COVID came in 2020, I closed one of them down because, people are not, traveling like they were, and things were starting to, shut down. So I kept one, and I still have that one, but I closed the second one down. And I've been thinking, oh, should I open that back up? Because that was very lucrative. I made great money during those times with Airbnb. Yeah. So I took some of that money from my other real estate endeavors, money that I made, from travel nursing, not only paying myself, but taking it and investing into other things. I've invested into the stock market, like different little investments here and there. And when you look, it's like, oh, these things are adding up.
I love it.
So those little things is what helped me get into the Double Combo Club. Nobody gave me money. I definitely didn't inherit any money. It was money that I made as a travel nurse, plus investments in real estate, the stock market, and then just not living above my means. So just because I made more money, that didn't mean I went to spend more money. And again, I'm living in California for free and making a profit.
I love it. The queen of multiple streams of income. Because there is a saying that says, like, if you only have one stream of income, you pretty much are close to none. Right? So that's so good. So tell us about Black Nurses Week. How were you able to birth that, or what inspired you to birth Black Nurses Week?
Black Nurses Week. On a travel assignment in California, I was on a travel nursing assignment in Silicon Valley in San Jose. And I had been there for almost a year. This is also when I dropped out of grad school. I was working as a nurse leader in the emergency department, and I had experienced I call it a racial-based traumatic experience. I was working in the ER. I had been there for, I think at the time, I was on my 11th month there. And I was interim. The director was interim. That interim director was also a woman of color, and the story will tie together as to why I'm mentioning that. And they were wanting to have a permanent director. So they brought in a Caucasian lady. She came in for the director position. And just for context, I was offered that director position, but I didn't take it because the money was less than what I was making as a manager on the travel assignment. Oh, so I didn't want it. Okay. I don't want titles. I want money. You can call me what you want to call me as long as it's respectful, but it needs to come with money. So they brought in this Caucasian lady, and within the first 2 weeks that she was there, she had all kind of things to say about me. She wanted to know why was I getting paid hourly and not salary. She told the exiting interim director, the black lady, she needed to do my eval. And so in my evaluation, she told her to mention my how my attire was not professional. I didn't look professional. And so the interim director, the black lady, she come to warn me, oh, be careful, we'll just call the new director coming in, we'll call her Sally. Okay. Sally's watching you, just make sure, you're on your, kind of like on your P's and Q's. And I'm like, watching me for what? Like, I've been here 11 months. And I know what I've done for this department. Like, it was a department that was in shambles. That's why you bring in a manager paying them hourly and not salary, because no one wants to work here. Mm-hmm. But I like a challenge. So that's why I took it. So anyway, my professionalism, she said my clothes didn't look professional. Shanice, I'm wearing scrubs every day.
That's what I was about to say. I was like, what were you wearing?
What is not professional about my scrubs? They weren't too tight. They actually was a little loose because at that time I was like I was on a weight loss journey. I was losing weight, so actually kind of loose.
But you know how that can be too.
Mm-hmm. When you're curvy color, and things of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then my hair, although my hair was a wig, it was like it looked like natural hair, kind of like it was a curly type afro. Mm-hmm. She had a problem with my hair. Oh, wow. And I'm like, whoa, because the interim director that was leaving, the black lady, she wore her natural hair. So I'm just kind of like looking at her like, how do you even feel comfortable saying this? Like, you didn't say anything to her? Like, because you're black and you're wearing your natural hair. I'm wearing a wig, but all the coworkers thought it was my hair. Yeah. Patients think it's my hair. Why you didn't say anything? So I was like, that's discrimination. And so she actually put this in my evaluation. She didn't put it in those specific words, but she put unprofessional appearance and attire. And so I reported it to my travel agency.
Yeah, because what she should have done was put exactly what was unprofessional about your attire. Yeah.
And then I also went to HR to file a complaint. And of course, HR says, oh, there will be no retaliation and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. That is so not true. Wow. So, I went through that. I reported it to HR, reported it to the EEOC, Equal Opportunity of, I can't even think what the C is. Can't remember. But I did all those channels. And I know they said something to her because the things that I needed to do my job, all of a sudden I'm not getting them. So like I was doing the schedule for that emergency department. There's new people that are starting. When are you going to tell me their names, their shifts, so I can do the schedule? Yeah. You know when she would give it to me? The day before it was due. And if you're doing a schedule of like 30, 40, 50 employees, you can't just give me that the day before. So, of course, my schedule is late. And so now it's like, oh, your work ethic is not what it is, what it used to be. Of course it's not. You're not giving me what I need. Or if I email her, she don't respond to my email till like the next week. Oh, wow. So things of that nature. Mm-hmm. And so I reported that to HR, and I was like, oh, we'll look into it, this, and that. Oh, okay. No. Mm-hmm. So there was one day, I think I was working 1 to 10 p.m. Right at like 9:45, there was, I hate to call it an altercation, but there was a doctor at the nurse's station that was very loud and belligerent and literally cursed the nurse out. So I'm the manager there. I'm going to, see what's going on, address that situation. I spoke to the house supervisor at the hospital, and they wanted an email, like with what was going on. So by the time I finished, it's almost 11 o'clock. I'm hourly. So when she get in the next day, she was like, oh, you got overtime. Who said you could have overtime? And I'm like, there was an emergency here, and I got approval from the house supervisor. And she was like, oh, the house supervisor can't approve that, blah, blah, blah. Wrote me up, called my agency, and canceled my contract. And said that I was not meeting the demands of the organization. I was insubordinate.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, so when you're a travel nurse, you're kind of like an at-will employee. And so I'm like, oh, this is because I reported you to HR. So after that happened, like I have never, even being from Texas, I've never experienced like racism like that. I've never been racially discriminated against. And so when that happened to me, I guess I really can say I was heartbroken because I never experienced that. And all the things I did for that department, like all the nurses and the doctors, like they all wrote statements to HR, just like, things they have experienced with this same lady, with Sally. And so I didn't work for like 6 months.
Wow.
6 months. I was just like really trying to process what the hell just happened to me. Like, what happened? How do we get here? Like, how can someone do this? And in that 6 months, it was just a lot of like trying to get myself together. Like, I don't even know what happened. Like, what am I supposed to do? And at some point, probably, maybe at the 2 or 3 month mark, maybe, I was just like, I'm not going to be asking God, like, why me? It's more like, what am I supposed to get out of this?
Yeah.
Are you trying to teach me something? Did I overstay my welcome at this place? Should I have left? Like, what are you trying to teach me? And one day, I just woke up, and I literally woke up out of it's like a dream. I woke up and I said, what if we had something where there was more unity with Black nurses? We would stick together. We have each other back, rightfully so. I'll never tell someone to back someone up when they're wrong, but rightfully so, because I feel like the interim director, like you really could have stepped in and, discuss with HR what the discussion was with Sally and how we even got to this point. But as a Black nurse, she did not do that. And so I woke up and I was like, what if there was something where we could come together, celebrate each other? Because clearly, I'm not the only person this has happened to. And that's why I was like, oh, we need our own week. We need Black Nurses Week. We need a week to celebrate Black nurses, nurses of color, and that's it. Because there is a National Nurses Week, but I wanted something specifically for Black nurses. And so at that point, I started Googling. I was like, Black Nurses Week. I was like, no, I don't see anything. And I was just, trying to look and find it. And I didn't see anything. And, I sat on that idea for like 3 or 4 years.
3 or 4 years.
That happened to me in 2017.
Wow.
2017.
And why did you sit on it so long? Like, what was going through your thoughts?
Initially, and I had the idea and I was looking and I didn't see anything. And I was like, surely somebody is doing something to celebrate like Black nurses. And then I started thinking about Mary Mahoney, which she's the first African-American nurse to graduate from nursing school. And I'm like, okay. And then, you think of something, it go away or whatever, and you revisit it. Well, my oldest niece, which is now 10, she would always say, Annie, I want to be a nurse just like you. Oh. And so when she started telling me that, then I would start thinking about Black Nurses Week. I'm like, okay. And she started saying that when she was 3 or 4.
Wow.
And so every now and again, it would come back to me. Or if I talk to another nurse who say, oh, I was working at this assignment and XYZ happened, and usually it's something based on race, why do they treat us differently, blah, blah, blah. And then I started thinking about Black Nurses Week. And then I just started thinking about it more and more. It's like, okay, what do I even want Black Nurses Week to look like? Yes, I want, to celebrate Black nurses. Yes, I want us to, have each other back, unity, teach each other, help each other advance into those roles where you actually can make a difference so people don't experience what I experienced. And it just started becoming more and more and more and more of a thought. And so this is 2023, we had our inaugural conference last year in 2022. So in 2021, I have a business partner. Her name is Marsha Batiste. She is a founder and COO for Black Nurses Week. We met on a travel assignment. It was a travel assignment for me in DC for COVID. and we were talking, and we kind of learned, oh, we're from down in the same area, and our work ethic is very similar, and we're just talking about business stuff, and it's like we have a lot in common.
Yeah.
And so I mentioned it to her, and I was like, I have this idea for Black Nurses Week. I kind of want a conference or something every year to celebrate it. I'm not quite sure what I want it to look like, but will you help me?
Yeah.
Because she used to do conferences for UCLA on the West Coast. Yeah. So conferences is her thing, or events is her thing.
Yeah.
And so she was like, yeah. I mean, she didn't even think about it. She was like, yeah, yeah, we could do it. And so that's kind of how Black Nurses Week came about. It came from a racial-based traumatic experience for me.
Wow.
And all that time I was wondering, what are you trying to teach me?
Mm-hmm.
God, show me a sign, something.
Yeah.
And it was a thought that now has come into fruition.
I love it. Yeah.
So that's our Black Nurses Week.
That's amazing. Thanks for sharing that. And it's so unfortunate that you had to go through that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm sure we all know there's so many, other nurses, women of color who go through this type of discrimination within the workplace. It's very unfortunate. I feel like we need more representation, more people to represent us, to speak out more. I think now, most recent years as well, more people are speaking out as well on our behalf, but there needs to be more of that, and it's very important too. You shared with your business partner now, who's now your business partner, that listen, this is what I want to birth. This is my vision, but I don't know exactly what it looks like, what it's going to look like. And so it's important for people to realize that it's okay to share, with people who you trust. That's very important, right? You don't want to share your vision with everybody because not everyone will understand it, first of all. But for those who you trust, it's okay to say, look, this is what I'm seeing, but I don't know the full picture. Can you help me? And just you being authentic and somewhat vulnerable in a sense too, that then created and birthed a partnership.
Yes, and anything that anyone wants to start, you don't have to know everything.
Exactly.
Just start. You can figure it out along the way. Figure it out later. Just start. Maybe bump your head or not, but whatever. Just start and figure it out along the way.
I'm the queen of figuring things out, as I go. And that's one of the reasons why I call this podcast the Legally Clueless Entrepreneurs Podcast, because literally that's how I feel sometimes. I literally feel clueless. But I'm not going to, and when I say clueless, I'm talking about clueless in regards to not knowing what things look like.
Yes.
At step D, right? And also not knowing how to start and not having all the answers, right? But it's very important for people to know that you don't need, like you said, you don't need to have all the answers before you start a thing, right? We just got to step out in faith sometimes and start with what we have and start with where you are. So I'm glad that you shared that.
Yeah. If you wait until you know everything, you will probably, you'll be waiting for a long time, a very long time. It may actually never happen because you're waiting. So just start and figure it out. Figure it out later. Surround yourself with people who are smarter than you, who can help you. Conference stuff, they never held no conference. Marsha has. In that sense, she knows that. So why not, team up or ask or get help? A lot of people don't want to ask for help.
Exactly.
Marsha, help me. This is what I want to do. Help me. Ask for help.
Yeah.
A lot of people are scared to ask for help, especially, I feel like, my opinion, Black people, women of color, scared to ask for help because so many things are like a competition. No, there's enough for everybody. You don't compete with me.
Exactly.
We're more powerful together than being against each other.
That is so good. That is so good. Like, we think alike. We 100% think alike, okay? Because even just recently, I was sharing with my audience, like, hey, it's okay to ask for help, delegate stuff. We're not meant to be a genius in all aspects of things, all areas, right? Multi-millionaires and billionaires, they don't know how to do everything.
Nope.
That's why they hire people for that, or they delegate people for that, or partner with people who have the intelligence and the skills in certain areas.
Yes. If you don't know it, hire the expert.
Exactly.
And that's why you should surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. If I'm smarter than everybody in the room, I actually don't want to be in the room.
Girl.
What am I going to learn?
Exactly, yeah.
I have nobody to learn from. No, put me in the room where people are smarter so I can ask questions and learn things. That's how I am.
That is so good.
That's me.
That is good. So you shared so many gems earlier. What advice would you give to people who are trying to get into the nursing career, the nursing field?
Number one, anyone who wants to become a nurse, if you are wanting to become a nurse just because you think you're going to make all this money, don't come into our field.
Mm.
Nursing is about taking care of people, literally. Nursing people back to good health. And even in my experience, people who have come into nursing who is just like, oh, I can make money in this field. Their care is so subpar. Don't come. Now, if you like taking care of people, and by the way, not every nurse actually goes in and put hands on a patient and take care of patients because there are so many opportunities in nursing. But most people start there at the bedside. So if you want to come into nursing, number one, make sure that you want to come into nursing. Make sure you really love taking care of people. You have some kind of passion, or at least a little bit interested into taking care of a patient and taking care of people and, nursing them back to good health. And when it comes to getting into nursing school, make sure you do your homework. You can look at local colleges or you can look at, universities or whatever the case may be, but each one has different criteria. So instance for me, even though it was 17 years ago, like if you were a CNA, you got 4 points. If you were a medication aide, you got 4 points. You would get all these additional credits for having different certifications. Mm-hmm. So when you're looking at schools, make sure you look at that criteria and see, do you have, you just want to make yourself more marketable to that school and increase your chances of getting in. And I also recommend, if you can, to apply to more than one school, because just because you apply doesn't mean you're going to get in. And the next thing I would recommend is to have some kind of emergency fund, because at one point for me, school was so busy and stressful, there is no way that I could work. It was either try to work and possibly fail, or say bye to work and focus on school looking at the long-term goal. So I always say have some kind of money saved up just in case school gets crazy. You need to take some time off and focus, because nursing school, at least the programs that I was in, passing is not 70. Passing is 80.
Wow.
And you're gonna be like, okay, what happened to those 10 points? That kind of raised the bar for nursing.
So
and
you
again,
gotta be focused.
Yes, you gotta be focused.
Or have some type of, most people probably don't, but at least some type of like support system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's even better. Some people get financial aid, some people don't. Mm-hmm. So you just got to be prepared for whatever comes your way, because you don't want it to get down to, it's like, oh my God, I can't finish school. Yeah. Especially once you get in, because getting in could be a challenge. Yeah. And then once you're in the program, that's another challenge. And staying in the program is a challenge. And when you graduate, now you have to make sure that you pass the state boards. Yeah. So going through school is tough. So you don't want anything to interfere. I had no life during nursing school. Nursing school is actually where I got rid of my TV. I got rid of my TV, all of that. All that hanging out, partying on the weekend. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't do that.
Yeah. I give y'all credit for that. Like, I have nurse friends, like I said before, and you pretty much have no life, especially in certain like critical periods of nursing school. Mm-hmm. It takes a lot of like commitment, discipline.
Yep.
I give you credit for it.
Yep, it's tough. I mean, obviously I hadn't went through any other program elsewhere, so I don't know if it's as difficult, but you do have to be focused. Yeah. You have to study, you have to write papers, you have to do all this different type of stuff. And you have to do prerequisites even before you get into the nursing program. I don't know why, because I've never used world literature, okay, in nursing, not even in life or history or any of that stuff. But you have to take it.
Yeah.
So, you know, you want to be a nurse, make sure that's what you want to be and you're coming for the right reason. And, you know, make sure you do your homework and see what these programs are asking for. And if you can commit your time to being in this program, because it would be devastating to get in a program and fail out.
Wow. But would you say that it was all worth it for you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Even though I don't work at the bedside anymore, obviously I haven't during COVID. I was, you know, in leadership roles, but I absolutely love taking care of a patient. My thing used to be, if I can make your worst day better, then I feel like I've done my job. Because, you know, when someone's in the hospital or come in the ER, they feel like that's like the worst time ever. I'm sick, I don't know what's going on with me, or, you know, someone's had a heart attack or whatever the case may be. If I can make that a good experience for you at the bedside as a bedside nurse, I feel like I've done my job.
Wow.
And then as a nurse leader, even with what I went through, my experience, if a nurse is having a bad day or if they need something or whatever it is, if I can provide some kind of support to you, whether you need to talk, if you're being bullied and you feel like, you know, you need help and, you know, certain people are not helping you, what you need to do, or, you know, if a patient is, you know, not treating you respectfully, whatever the case may be, if I can come in and help and make you feel like as a nurse that, you know, you're still proud of being a nurse after we've had our talk or if I've helped you, I've done my job for the day. Because a lot of nurses feel like they don't get supported from management. And in some cases, that's absolutely true. But I'm not that person. Because I've been in those positions, I know how it feels not to be supported or to be mistreated or, you know, things like that. So I feel like, okay, I know what it feels like.
Yeah.
So let's see what we can do to make it better.
Yeah.
And when I do that, I've done my job. I absolutely love being a nurse. I love what I do.
I love it.
And so my last step in nursing before I retire, keep saying it, before I retire, is to be a chief nursing officer.
Wow.
And that's because in those positions, you're in a position where you can make change. You can guide change. You can be a change agent. You can be a change agent really at any position, but you have more power to make a difference at that level. And so that's why I'm still in nursing. I feel like I still have something to give, and I still feel like I have lives to change just by whether it's there for that one talk or that one support moment that they feel like they, you know, haven't had the support, or just to inspire them to do more, to, you know, be better. So I love it.
That's amazing. And it seems like you thrive better in that environment or as a nurse when you truly have a passion for it. Because if you don't, I can imagine how tiresome and how, I'm sure it gets tiring for you sometimes, but when you truly have a passion for it, it makes a difference.
Yep.
That's good.
And that goes back to my first thing when you said any advice to give anyone who wants to be nursing. If you're coming just for money, don't come. Because you're not really here, in my opinion, you're not here to make it better. You're just here to make $1. You can go make $1 somewhere else.
Wow.
So if you don't really like taking care of people or making a difference in people's lives when it comes to nursing, and you just, you know, come here because you heard the money's good, we don't want you.
Yeah, that's good. So you said you want to become a chief nurse one day, right? How long does that usually take? Do you have to be in the field for a certain amount of years?
Usually experience. So I was just talking to a friend about this. I have my bachelor's degree. When you look at some of these roles, they want you to have a master's or a doctorate nowadays in nursing. I'm not like most people. When you look at these jobs, some of them say preferred master's degree or doctorate, and some say required. Honestly, I don't care if it say preferred or required. I'm still going to apply. Because there's been plenty of jobs that I wasn't qualified based on what they had on the posting. I still got the job.
Wow.
Because I have the experience.
Oh, y'all catching that?
So
Yeah.
when someone says, "Oh, there's this job and I want to apply, but you have to have X, Y, Z," I said, "Well, number one, you can apply anyway, just to see what happens. If it's meant for you, it's meant for you. And number two, does it say required or preferred? Because if it's preferred, okay, well, I prefer $1 million a year, but that's not what I'm getting. But don't count yourself out just because a job says they want you to have X, Y, Z.
Yeah, exactly. And what's for you is just for you.
Yeah.
It's just period.
Yeah. So I recently applied for a job as a chief nursing officer.
Wow.
Number one, I applied to see if
love
I was
your
going to.
boldness.
I applied to see if I was going to get an interview. I did get the interview.
Wow.
I got the interview. I didn't get the job, but that's okay. I just wanted to see if I got the interview.
Oh, girl, that says a lot.
Because some of their requirements was a master's degree. I know I ain't got no master's degree, and I'm not even in school to get one. I don't care. When you look at this resume and you see all this experience I have and these director roles and things of that nature.
Exactly.
So when I got the interview, I said, "Oh yeah, now we on something."
Right.
I apply anyway. What does it hurt to apply? Only thing they can do is tell you no.
Exactly. I love the attitude. I love it.
And some people think, "Oh, they told me no, I can't do it." Blah blah. Yeah. Okay, you probably 2 more no's closer to a yes.
Exactly.
So what if somebody say no? Keep trying. Somebody gonna say yes.
Exactly. I think that's the thing too. We can't be afraid of no's.
Yeah.
It's really either yes or no. No, okay. And no doesn't necessarily mean no, never, right?
Correct.
No, not right now.
Correct. Yeah. So I did, and I found out that, they chose another candidate. I was like, okay, thank you for telling me. And of course, if something comes up or something happens, we still have your resume on file. Okay, I just want to know if I get an interview. I got my interview, chose someone else, that's fine. And on top of that, I'm expensive. Mm. You are not going to send me a low ball offer. No. Mm. You're going to pay me what I'm worth.
Right.
And my years of experience come at a nice price tag. And if someone don't want to pay me, okay, we'll go find somebody for less. And I think as Black women, we sell ourselves short too often.
Yep.
And we also do not negotiate our pay.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a whole nother conversation.
So
yeah,
no, I know what I want to be paid. I know what I'm worth.
Yeah.
And if you come to me with anything less and you're not willing to negotiate, go choose somebody else.
I love that. And so where did you get this level of confidence to be able to properly negotiate what you're worth? Because like you said, there's a lot of us, a lot of Black women who are afraid to negotiate our worth and speak up.
I think just seeing, I'm very observant. And even just in nursing, like, they think it's like this whole taboo to talk about pay, but you really need to talk about pay. Pay transparency is important. So just seeing, different people in different positions, like man versus a woman, or a Caucasian person versus a Black person, maybe being in the same position and knowing that they get paid differently. It's like, oh, hell no. Mm-hmm. Why is he getting paid $15,000 more than her? And it's just like different conversations. And then, just looking at society and where, oh, don't talk about pay, don't talk about this, don't talk about that. That's why they don't want you to talk about it, because there's such this big pay gap.
There is. Because in reality, I may be wrong with the exact numbers,
mm-hmm.
but like white men typically get paid around 75 cents on the dollar compared to Black women, maybe like 55
mm-hmm.
cents, something around.
Yeah.
Don't quote me exactly, but it's somewhat
mm-hmm.
like that. It is reality that Black women are underpaid doing the very same roles as, counterparts, white male.
Yep.
Sometimes doing even more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so just, having conversations with others, learning more, not always speaking up, because it's not my place to speak up. It's not my pay. But just when, if I'm talking to you about your pay, not that was the topic, but we got on it. And then maybe later down the line, I'm talking to someone else about their pay. And I'm like, oh, wait, Shanice told me she was getting paid this. This lady getting paid that. They got the same amount of experience. And just putting that, in my back pocket. So when it comes to me, I'm like, oh, no, I know that I can get paid more because, the conversation I had with you and the other lady. Mm-hmm. So I know I can get paid more. And so just not being afraid to speak up, because no one speaks up. People have all these issues and they'll go talk to their friends about it. And when people come to me, I'm like, oh, did you talk to your boss? Did you talk to them about it? Mm-hmm. You didn't? What you telling me for? I can't do nothing about it. So when I speak up and advocate for myself, because nobody else is going to advocate for me. Yeah. Nobody's going to speak up for me. So I speak up for myself. And if they don't like it, okay, that's fine. You don't have to like it. But just know I'm speaking up for myself. Please don't play with me. And I think that a lot of people think she black, she don't know. She don't, she's not all that educated. Some of the things that they would say about us. Mm-hmm. No, honey, I'm educated. I know. So I always feel like if I'm one step ahead of them, oh yeah, I can talk my noise because I'm educated on the subject. And I also know that you can negotiate this, this much higher percentage above, what you're mentioning here, or whatever the case may be. And I live on salary.com. Mm-hmm. Okay, what are y'all paying CNOs in this area? Okay, salary.com says this. And if you look on salary.com, there are some people who anonymously report their salary for their position and stuff like that. Yeah. Not a lot, but just stuff like that. So even when it comes to talking about that, I'm like, well, here's a source. Here's this, here's that. I always have some receipts to go with what I say. Mm-hmm. So I think it's more so just advocating for myself because nobody else is going to speak up for me.
Yeah, that's important.
And I say it very confidently because I've done my research. If I come in full throttle, it's because I've done my research. I know what is stated here, what's stated there, anything in life. When it comes to talking about stuff in nursing, like policies and stuff, no, we're supposed to be doing X, Y, Z. And someone may say something different. No, pull the policy. Oh, it does say it there. Yeah, you better learn your policy. So I know what I'm talking about when I'm talking. And if I don't, I may not say nothing until I go do my research. But usually when I'm coming and I'm full throttle, I know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And I got some receipts to pull if anybody want to question it. But I always tell people, advocate for yourself because nobody's going to advocate for you.
Yeah, that's good. That's solid. And so you're a travel nurse, but you're also a business owner.
That's correct.
Yes. So what advice would you give to other entrepreneurs or just business owners who are on their journey to full-time entrepreneurship, or they just, because for you're like the perfect example of being able to somewhat balance that, right? You can still have a full-time job, a full-time career while you're pursuing your business. It may not work out that well for everybody. Some people, it's better off for them to, do their business full-time. And, for some people, it's better for them to balance both. You just have to realize or recognize when the time is right for you to transition into, full-time entrepreneurship. But what advice would you give to business owners or entrepreneurs who are trying to start their journey? Or who just needs some encouragement?
Well, I always like to tell people who want to be entrepreneurs, a lot of people ask about funding. How am I going to fund my business? Okay, if you work a 9 to 5, you work that 9 to 5 to fund your business. Put that 9 to 5 money into your business. And a lot of people make it seem like that's not the way to go. I don't know why it's not. You work your 9 to 5 to fund your business until your business can then supplement that 9 to 5 money.
Yeah, it is a way to go.
Yeah.
100%.
And so when it comes to being an entrepreneur and you're trying to do both, you have to find balance. You need to sit down and you need to plan your schedule, whether it's for the week, for the month. You need to plan it out because going day to day is not going to work. You're going to be stressed out and you're going to be burned out. And then all of a sudden, I don't want to be an entrepreneur because it's too hectic and time consuming. It's not truly hectic and time consuming. You need time management. And so at some point you have to choose. Do you want to sit and watch reality TV for 2 hours every night? Or do you want to put those 2 hours into things for your business? So you also have to prioritize what's more important. Those people on reality TV are not funding your business and they are not making you any money. That's just entertainment. So find you some balance and time management, and also make sure you, in that time management, when you're scheduling things, put time in there for yourself, because you're going to run yourself ragged. And you're not going to want to do the business because it's too much work. And you don't have any time for yourself or your friends or your kids. So I just tell people, make sure you have a plan. I guess I should say a plan to start, because don't try to plan the whole business. And that's when you're like, oh, I don't have it together because I don't know what this part of the plan looks like. No, have a plan to start and then get your time management and priorities together. And there's nothing wrong with working a job for someone else to help fund your business until your business can then fund your lifestyle.
Exactly. That is so good, because I'm glad that you brought the topic up in regards to time management, right? Because a lot of times we feel like we don't have the time. People tell themselves all the time. I used to do that as well. Say, I don't have the time. But in reality, if you really sit back and write down every hour of your day, what you're doing, from sleeping to waking up to driving to work to getting home, making dinner, watching TV, you realize that half the time, 90% of the time, there are pockets as to where you can make time to do something, right? Maybe you have an hour lunch, maybe you can spend 15 minutes doing something. There's so much that you can achieve in 15 minutes. And I know it may sound crazy, but when I really started planning my day, my weeks, my months, I got myself a 12-week year calendar, right? And I started using Google Calendars is like life-changing, right? So when I started incorporating that, putting things, important things on my to-do list, the things that I need to, do, planning out my day, I realized that I achieved so much more with planning. And I know a lot of times people think planning takes time. It does take time, but you end up saving so much time because you have planned.
Yes.
When you don't plan, it's like you're running around like everything is just up in the air. There's no structure. Anybody can just come knock on your door. Hey, let's go do this. You're gone. You know what I mean? Like you have no structure.
Yeah.
So planning is so important. I'm so happy that you brought that up. It makes a big difference. You can have a full-time job. You can work 12 hours because you're probably not working 12 hours 7 days a week. You probably are, but it really all depends. You can still work 12 hours and still be able to work around that and incorporate time to build a business.
Yeah. I tell some people that have said, things like that before, I just don't have time. And I go back to say, how they say we all have the same 24 hours? All the mindless scrolling on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. And you go back and look, oh, dang, I've been on here for 2 hours. Yep, 2 hours. So in that 2 hours, what did you accomplish for your business? Were you posting content for your business, or you were just scrolling? That's 2 hours you could have put into your business. Or watching TV. And it's not, I don't have a TV, and it's nothing against people that watch TV, but now we're talking about priorities. Are you more interested in other people's lives that are already rich and got a TV deal on reality TV? Or are you more interested in getting your own business going so you can then quit your 9 to 5 so your business can fund your lifestyle, like those people on reality TV?
Yeah, exactly.
And usually the ones on reality TV, it just looks good for the show. They may be broke in real life. So they're selling you a lifestyle.
And half the things are scripted anyway.
Yeah. So you're distracted.
Yeah.
Really what it is, you're distracted. Yeah. So you can't say that you don't have time. You have time.
Yeah.
You just are not using your time wisely. Yeah. And that's why you can't get past step 1.
Yeah, that's so good. And that's one of the reasons, people think that we're crazy, my husband and I, because we don't have a TV in our house as well, like you. It's intentional when we decide to, watch a movie or something. Maybe it's like a Friday night, we're having dinner, and we'll watch a movie for maybe an hour or 2, and that's pretty much it. But we have it in a sense, in our schedule versus just watching TV all day just because.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's choices. You have a choice what you do with your time, or at least the majority of it, and you're choosing what you choose. And it's up to you. It comes back to you. You don't get to say you don't have time. You do have time, but you're choosing to spend that time in a way that is not beneficial to what you're trying to do in the future. It's short-term satisfaction that has nothing to do with your long-term goal. So
that's good. I love it. I love it. I'm so happy that you're here on the show today because you are just dropping gems. Okay.
Thank you for having
Fireballs. So, tell the audience a little bit more about Black Nurses Week. I know it's an annual event, right? So
yes.
Tell us a little bit more about this year's event, the date, location, all this good stuff. And also, is it only for nurses?
Oh, good question. So, in our event that we had last year, it was not just nurses that were there.
Oh, really?
There were other business owners that were there.
Oh, because I was thinking it was just for nurses. I was like, let me ask her.
I mean, that's the audience that we want to appeal to. But we had some people that were there that had like med spas and stuff like that. Clearly, that were not nurses. So, I guess it's open for anyone. But our target audience is nurses.
Okay.
This year's event is so Black Nurses Week is July 26th through August 1st every year. That is the actual Black Nurses Week. And the reason those dates were chosen is because Mary Mahoney was the first African American nurse to graduate from nursing school. And she graduated August 1st in 1879.
Wow.
So we chose the week leading up to her graduation date. And the only reason we didn't choose her birthday is because her birthday was questionable in like all the research and literature.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, they really wasn't keeping as good of a track, of people of color, Black people.
Yeah.
So anyway, we chose her graduation date. So every year, July 26th through August 1st is Black Nurses Week. The conference is a 3-day conference, which is within Black Nurses Week. So this year's conference is July 27th through July 31st. It's 3 days. And we're going back to the Mayflower Hotel in Washington, D.C. The Hotel of the Presidents is a very luxurious and historical hotel.
Yeah.
And we chose there because a historical event with, somewhere that already has history in the D.C. area. Because we both were in that area on travel contracts.
Yeah.
So it's July 27th through the 31st. It's at the Mayflower Hotel in Washington, D.C. And our theme is Opportunities Beyond the Bedside 2.0.
Oh, I love it.
And so last year's theme was Opportunities Beyond the Bedside. It was our first year, still trying to spread awareness and get the word out, organically. Yeah. And so we wanted to come back again and come with more ideas of how you can take your nursing knowledge and take it beyond the bedside. And, either, so for you to become an entrepreneur or have like a side business or something like that, don't let your nursing experience go to waste. You don't always have to be at the bedside taking care of a patient. You can take that knowledge and create something different for yourself.
That's amazing.
Yep.
That is awesome.
And so we're on all social media platforms. We are very active on Instagram. We're on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok.
And what's the handle for that?
Black Nurses Week for all of them.
Okay.
Yep.
And what's your I was going to get into that, but since you're sharing handles, you can share your personal. How can people get in touch with you? By the way, do you have any? Do you offer any like services? Like
no.
Maybe coaching services.
And people ask me that all the time, and they're like, "Oh, you should at least do a mentorship program. You should be a mentor. Like, do you know how inspirational you are?" And I'm like, not really. I just be talking. About my own experience in life. And, people have hinted around to that. But I haven't went that angle. That's what people want from me. But do I want that for myself?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I'm not the person. Yeah, I'm not the person who, you should do this. You should be a mentor. You should do that. I mean, when I mentor people, it's usually people I work with. So I've mentored other nurses that want to get into leadership or things like that. But that's usually when I'm on an assignment. Just for me personally, outside of that, no. And of course, I don't charge those nurses because I do want to see people excel. I want them. If you want to be a nurse director and you're asking me for guidance while we're on this assignment, absolutely, I'm gonna help you. I have time. Or even if I don't have time, I'm gonna make the time. So I don't offer those services. I don't know that that's for me.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, it will come to you, and it should really come to you naturally.
Yeah.
Like I said, not just because
Because someone else thinks that's what I should do.
Maybe in a
In
few
the future.
years, you'll
Maybe.
probably, but it'll come to you.
Yeah, maybe.
I love it. So, what's your personal handles?
Oh, on Instagram. So if you go to Black Nurses Week, we linked ourselves in our bio as the founders. But my personal Instagram is Tauqilla, which is Tauqilla. And lately on my Instagram, all I've been posting is like fitness and health stuff.
Yeah, I see you, girl. I'm just like, okay, she's into her fitness.
I know, like
now.
if you come on my page looking for some nursing stuff, you are coming to the wrong place. And that goes back to the beginning. Like, nursing is not my whole life. I'm a nurse, but that's not my life. My life does not center around being a nurse. Like, I do other things. I like other things. So, and some people, that's what they do, but not me. Mm-hmm. So don't come over there looking for them nursing content. I do not have it for you. I can point you to some people, but on my page, honey, I'm working out, trying to eat right, and, redefine what health or healthy looks like for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think that probably would be more of my direction, because I'm very interested in preventative health for Black people, for everyone really, but more so Black people, because when you're working in nursing, especially bedside, you have those Black patients that come in who haven't been to a doctor in forever. You say, "Oh, you have any health problems?" No. When the last time you've been to the doctor? I haven't. So you probably got some health problems, you just don't know that. Yeah. So I feel like if I can teach Black people, the importance of eating healthy or what healthy looks like for them and preventative maintenance and things like that, I'd rather keep you out of the hospital than worry about taking care of you while you're in the hospital. Because there's so much that we can do to improve our health at home.
Yeah, exactly.
At home. So those are things that are interesting. I have those conversations a lot.
And that's one of the things I like to say: you pay the farmer instead of paying the doctor.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And that may be what you pivot into. You never know.
Yep.
Like, it's still healthcare in a sense,
mm-hmm.
But you were doing it on a more holistic avenue, and that's okay.
Yep. I would say if I could go back, I think I would be a holistic doctor.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah. So
I'll also link. Sorry to cut you, but I'll also link all of your hashtags and all of that, your Instagram handles and all that in the show notes as well, so that you guys can have it.
Yep. Yeah. It's tequila in a nutshell.
I love it. So what keeps you going, really, with all of these, endeavors that you have going on? What motivates you, inspires you to keep going?
I guess maybe a few things. I like to, if I can contribute something to someone in a positive way, or feel like I am filling a void for them just by having like a conversation, I thrive off of that. And then in addition, I have 3 nieces. And 2 of them for sure say they want to be nurses. The other one day she says she want to be a nurse, and the next day she says something else. We don't know about that one. But I just want to and because I don't have kids, I don't want kids, I have those 3 nieces, I want to make sure that they see something positive, give them something to look forward to, at least from Amy. Mm-hmm. So I just want to make sure that I'm setting a good example for them, and just letting them know, you can grow up to be whatever you want to be, whatever you put your mind to.
Yeah.
Like, there's no limitations. And I don't want them to think there's any limitations. So I just want to give them something, to look up to. And those are the 3 little Black girls, but who knows what other little Black girls are looking at me, or other Black women that are looking at me. I have some people who say, I want to be just like you when I grow up. No. I want you to be better than me. I want you to be better than me. I want you to do more than me. And just knowing that people are watching me, that I may not even know that are watching me. So I do my best to be myself. I don't want to be what anyone else wants me to be. Just like being a business owner, being, CEO and founder of Black Nurses Week. My Instagram page is private. I mean, it's public. I don't want it to be private. I want you to see that, yes, I'm a normal person. I go out and do normal things, and that I shouldn't have to behave a certain way just because I'm a CEO or whatever. Or I can't go to a day party. Oh my God, she's at a day party. She's partying. She's dancing or whatever on the internet. Yes, honey, I'm a human being just like you. So I just like being my authentic self.
Yeah.
Either you like it or you don't.
I love it.
Yeah, you can't satisfy everybody. Everybody not gonna like you.
You can't.
Yeah.
You're not gonna live a fulfilling life.
Yeah.
A fulfilled life. Yeah. And well, there's one thing that I wanted to get back to because I'm pretty sure my audience is probably wondering, and they're probably like, "Girl, like you drew this thing out until the end," but you said earlier that your one of your goals was to become a millionaire by the time you're 50, right? But you're not 50.
I'm 40.
Okay, because I'm like, you're
I'm
definitely not 50. Okay, thanks for sharing that. I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if you were, open to sharing.
I'm 40.
Wow, and so that's one of the reasons why. Thanks again for saying yes to the podcast. And one of the reasons why you're so humble. I love your humility.
Thank you.
And one of the reasons why I know initially you were like, I don't really want to share, my financial, stuff, but I'm happy that you did. And the reason why I'm happy that you did was because I feel like more women, especially women of color, need to hear from other women like you and know that it's possible to, achieve success or whatever success looks, because success looks different to everybody. Right?
Exactly. Yes.
So you don't necessarily have to achieve $1 million to become successful, right?
Correct.
You can become successful before you hit the millionaire club. But for you, I know a lot of women think it's far-fetched because some people I know that they have the desire in a sense, right, to make $1 million or even make six figures, right? But because they don't see other people around them doing it, they would probably be the first person, whether in their family or in their friendship groups or whichever, they don't think it's possible. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted you to come on the show to just inspire other women entrepreneurs.
I'm the first millionaire in my family.
Wow.
And I honestly don't even know, not why I wanted to be a millionaire, but I think I came up with that goal is each year I set financial goals. Maybe one year I started out wanting to save $5,000. Okay, I saved that. Okay, what's next? Oh, okay, let me save $10,000. Okay, I did that. Okay, what's next? Oh, let me save $20,000. So it's like each year I'm chasing something. I will never be satisfied. And so I was like, I'm hitting these targets. I might as well just go ahead and aim for $1 million. And that's in addition to me wanting to travel and do the things that I like. And so that's kind of how I came up with that. And I was like, if I keep hitting all these other goals, then I can do that. And if I don't have goals, I feel like, what am I doing? Like, I need something to look forward to.
Yeah.
And so when I hit that number, I was like, oh, let me double check again. Let me make sure. Let me look. And actually, just as of maybe a few weeks ago, I'm actually debt free. I don't have any debt.
Wow. Congratulations.
I don't have no debt. And people see me and they may know that. And it's so funny. I have some really good friends. And they're like, but you don't even look like a millionaire. I said, that's perfect. That's good, I guess. I don't want to look like a millionaire. And I said, well, what does a millionaire look like, though?
Yeah, half the time you can't really tell.
And so most people think, oh, if you see somebody with a flashy car and this big house and all the designer bags and all that type of stuff. I said, in my experience, people who look like that really broke. And yikes. I said, no, let's not. Honey, I shop at Ross and Burlington Coat Factory. I don't need all that flashy stuff. And actually, it's not an investment to me. It's like a waste of money. So, and even though I hit that status, I'm already saying, okay, so what's next? Oh, I need to be a multimillionaire.
I love it.
But it's definitely obtainable. People have the thought of doing stuff, but what's your plan though? If you don't have no plan to get there, oh, I want to be a millionaire, but you're not saving any money, you're not investing any money. So how are you going to get there? What are you hoping that you win the lottery? No, you need to have a plan.
Yeah.
Which goes back to me paying myself first
Yeah.
before I pay anybody else. And the more money I would make, even as a travel nurse, that don't mean I go out and get more expenses. In nursing school, as an LVN, the NCLEX exam, I can't remember how much it was. But do you know I saved the cans from the other classmates that would drink sodas like all during class and they was just throwing them in the trash? And I was like, oh wait, but I can save those cans. So I saved those cans. I think I started doing that maybe like the third or fourth month into the program, and it was a 12-month program.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was 30. Was it 30 of us in that class? By the end of the year, I had saved like from cans or made from cans like $350, and I used that money to pay for my NCLEX exam.
Wow.
One of the Airbnbs I have.
Wow,
that I had,
resourceful.
Yeah, it's like why? It's like you're throwing money in the trash. One of the Airbnbs I stayed at, whoever they have for the trash person to take the bins out to the curb because it's like a 10 unit condo place.
We have to do that with mine too sometimes.
Yeah, and so I was telling the owners, I'm like, who was supposed to take out the garbage because it didn't get taken out yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, oh, I've been having issues with the guy. I don't know why, blah, blah, blah. I need to find somebody to do it. I said, oh, how much you pay? He was like, oh, we pay like $175 a month. I said, just to take those 6 bins out to the curb, it's literally like 50 yards once a week. I said, I'll do it.
Wow.
So that $175
for that one unit, right? That one unit.
So it's 10 units, but the bins are behind a fence. So there's like 6 bins that we would put our trash in. And you just take them out Tuesday night for them to pick it up for Wednesday and bring it in. So literally you take it out for 4 times a month.
Yeah.
It took me 5 minutes.
That's crazy.
He was paying me $175 a month. So that $175 I was paying my cell phone bill and gas. I like to have some kind of revenue or stream of income to replace my bills. And that's what I did. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm spending 20 minutes a month.
That's a good strategy too.
Yeah.
Like have different streams of incomes for different bills.
Yes. Yeah. So you don't pay for anything.
I love it.
And so that way the money that you do make, you can continue to pay yourself. Mm-hmm. And that's at the bare minimum of your hourly. You can pay yourself more than that. Mm-hmm. And as a travel nurse, when you're making $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a week, okay, well, I think I'll just pay myself this whole paycheck. Because I'm not paying rent. I'm not paying my cell phone bill. I paid my car off. And I don't need a new car. I'm not buying one. That little Honda I got going to roll till the wheels fall off. I don't live above my means. Yeah. If I'm going to spend money, I'm going to spend money on a vacation. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go to South Africa. Yeah. I'm going to go to Dubai. I'm going to go to Mexico. I'm going to go wherever I want to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely, travel is my thing.
Yeah.
I love it.
But I have a few designer purses, but I'm not buying one every month, twice a month. I'm not spending that kind of money.
See, that's the thing. People think that when you achieve a certain status, you have to 100. Not saying that, you want to look put together, mm-hmm. but you don't always have to drive the newest, type of cars,
exactly.
the $100,000 cars,
yes.
and the designer purses. You don't. I know a lot of millionaires who you look at them and they're in regular sneakers, Skechers, shorts. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like you don't have to. And like you said earlier, a lot of times it's the opposite. We try to look as if we're rich. It's putting on that persona, but you're
you're trying to impress other people. Why? You're not getting paid for that. You're actually putting yourself deeper in a hole, really. Because once you start that, you have to keep it up. I'm gonna keep up this. I got this outfit at Ross. I'm gonna keep this outfit up with my sneakers that I got from Burlington because it's cold outside. Yeah, I know. So I was like, wait, I don't even. What does a millionaire look like? How can you look at somebody and tell? Oh, they look rich because they have on designer clothes? No, usually that's not always the case.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't live above my means. But if you want to be a millionaire, you need to have a plan. How are you going to get there? Are you going to save your money? What are you going to invest it in to multiply your money? Yeah. And then you need to look at your money. I can't tell people to have a budget because I don't have a budget. But you really need to see where your money is going. Mm-hmm. And I will say I have looked at, my statements before. I'm like, okay, where's my money going? Oh, this. I don't eat out a lot. I like to cook my own food. And I'm the type of person, you go in the store, so me being plant-based, I want some fruit. Mm-hmm. You go look at the mangoes that are pre-cut by the store and say it's 6 ounces. I think when I look, because I had did this recently, it was like $7 or $8. Yeah. Okay, then I go look at the frozen mangoes, and I think it was like 8 ounces. It was like $6, $7. Mm-hmm. But when I go over here to the other fruit, the fresh fruit, not pre-cut, oh, these mangoes are 3 for $2. Mm-hmm. Okay, give me the ones that are 3 for $2. I can cut up my own mangoes, and if I want them frozen, I'll put them in the freezer. So people don't even look at that. They just go for the convenience. Yeah. Oh, because I don't have time to cut up the mangoes. That's because you're scrolling on Instagram for 2 hours. You do have time. You have to make time. So those little things are like,
And then everybody has their own vices too. You know,
yeah.
Some people who, like, for example, like, maybe you don't want to clean your own house, right? And that's fine too. I feel like it's okay to have,
to have help.
Have help wherever it suits you. Mm-hmm. Really.
Yeah, you don't have to do everything. If you want a housekeeper, get a housekeeper. You want a babysitter, get a babysitter. You want a chef, get a chef. But also look at those things if you want to be a millionaire. How much of that is eating into you progressing to where you want to be?
Yeah. And that can also be a motivation as well. Mm-hmm. Okay, I want to make sure that I have a nanny by this point, or I want to have a chef or a housekeeper at this point. How much more money do I need to make in order to afford that? Yeah. And that can be your motivation as well.
That's true.
And help you set goals.
Yeah. I can't afford that. Yeah. Oh, no, you can afford it. You probably just need to make more money. So you probably need to go negotiate your pay. Or you need to find something to invest in to get you some money to be able to afford that.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, people say, I can't afford that. Yeah, you can. You just need to look and see what you need to do so you can get what you want, whatever that may be. So I don't like for people to say I can't afford that.
Afford it, exactly.
Yeah, you can, but you better get you a plan together so you can afford it.
Yeah.
Or even when I just tell people like, oh, I want to save $100 a month. Okay, so what are you doing to save it? And I do have friends who say that, but when we're on the phone and where you at, girl? You out to eat again? Did you just buy some new sneakers? Why you got some new sneakers? You said you're trying to save $100 a month. Where are those new sneakers taking you that the ones you bought a month ago can't take you? I mean, it's just people, they say things, but when you give them advice on how to get there, then all of a sudden they don't want to do it. So, okay, so you really don't want to save $100. It just sounds good to say you want to save $100. Yeah. But you don't, because you're not taking the necessary steps to do it. Yeah. So
that's good.
Yep.
That's good. And earlier you were talking about, we're about to wrap up this episode because I know we can't go on all day, girlfriend. Like you speak my language. We think the same. I love it. I'm loving this podcast episode, and I'm sure my audience is too. Mm-hmm. But when you talked about paying yourself earlier, there's something that I wanted to add to that too, because as business owners as well, we forget and fail to pay ourselves properly. Right? Yes. I know this is probably going off topic a little bit, but I just wanted to share. When you have a business, it's important to not just be taking money out, cash apping yourself, or just, using all the funds to do whatever, but set up a system as to how you can pay yourself. You can actually run payroll yourself and have an actual, just like your W-2 job,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And get pay stubs.
Mhm.
So if your goal is to, let's say, go into full-time entrepreneurship, and you're trying to get qualified for stuff, whether that's a car, a house, whatever, you want to have some type of solid, proof of income,
Yes.
right? And not only that, but it's just good to have a system. Where your taxes, Social Security, stuff like that is still getting taken out automatically and paid.
Mhm.
And so you can use systems like ADP is one, but ADP can be a little bit more expensive. There's another platform that I personally use and that I recommend to my clients as well, is Gusto, right? Gusto, hundreds and thousands of major corporations use that as well, and it's less expensive. And you can run payroll, whether that's automatically or based on what your income is, because I know some people are probably listening and they're probably saying, well, my income right now or my business revenue is inconsistent.
Mhm.
But what you can do is based on, let's say, what you've made this week or this month, you can run payroll for yourself manually, let's say a percentage of that, to get into that habit of paying yourself
Yeah.
as an employee of your business. So that's important. No, we're not doing no cash apping and
Correct.
all of that stuff and just transferring money. That's okay sometimes. They call it owner's draw or whatever. But you want to set up a system, a proper structure to paying yourself as a business owner.
I recently had read Profit First. Have you heard
I've
of
never
that?
heard of that. I need to write it down.
Profit First, it lays it out like that.
Okay.
It gives percentages, percentage for the owner, for taxes, for
Yeah.
operating expenses, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
that's a really good book to read to get an idea of how to lay it out and make sure you get paid too. And it doesn't matter how much you make, it's because you're whatever. If you make $100 or $10,000, the owner's pay is still a percentage in whatever that amount is. Along with taxes and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
But that's a really good book.
That's good. I need to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Because for example, like I'm not getting into tax stuff right now because I'm no CPA or nothing. Okay, so don't quote me on anything. But for example, if you have it, say, and you opted in to be, let's say, taxed as an S corporation, right?
Mhm.
A good rule of thumb, IRS really wants you, again, don't quote me on this, all right? But a good rule of thumb is to pay yourself like 30% or something like that, right? So, even if you're not, you can just practice whatever your CPA suggests. I strongly suggest getting an actual CPA.
Yes.
That's very important in business. It doesn't matter how much money you're making, but you want to make sure that, first of all, you are classifying yourself appropriately. You're choosing the proper business entity, the business structure for your business. And then second of all, you want to make sure that you're paying yourself accordingly to the entity structure. So this was good. This is good.
Thank you for having me.
It was amazing. I could have you here all day, but I know we gotta wrap up. Thanks again for coming on the show. You shared so much gems, and I don't know, maybe we'll do this again sometime.
Sure, you just let me know. This is fun.
Yeah, this was so amazing. Okay, y'all. So listen, definitely go check out Black Nurses Week. If you can make it to DC, it's July 26th, right, to August 1st. Definitely see how you can make it so you can meet Tauqilla in person.
Yes.
Go support the movement, and definitely go follow her on social media. Well, listen, beautiful people, thanks for tuning in today. Be sure that you go ahead, like this podcast episode, share it with all your friends, all your entrepreneurial friends. And until next time, again, to go Shy-Bivia, it was an absolute pleasure. Let's continue to grow those businesses and get financially healthy together. And I'll see you guys later. Be blessed.